Okay, round 2 of the Ironbeard deck with Mr. Kill Baboon. Is he playing his deck? 31 cards Soulbind? So he has 3 Relic Hunters and 3 Tusken Spoilords in his deck. That is a lot of cards. He's not going to be able to draw those things. Starting with 36 cards in your deck is really difficult. It's really hard to get anything done. So, I don't want him to have a plant. Though Dendrify, I guess, gives him a plant too, so can't really stop that. Leyline Sentry is going to be pretty good against this deck, I think. I'm going to play... So I have 2 real options here. I could play Thundersoar and Leyline Sentry, and Relic Scout, probably the Sentry. Or I could play like Thundersoar Gauntlets, which doesn't seem that great. Gauntlets doesn't really do anything here. Or I could Dendrify his Scatterspore Eyeline so he doesn't get the Sapling, which means I won't be able to get any free Leyline Sentries if they're in my next hand. The Seedling doesn't really matter that much. I think I'm just going to block with Thundersoar and play a large Sentry, or a large-ish Sentry. I could have also played the Relic Scout in somewhere else to give my next creature power, but I don't want to just have a 3-9. Oh my goodness. that rewarded for excellent play. So I have 3 level 2 Leyline Sentries in my deck now. I mean, Leyline Sentry is like the least whelming of all of the Sentry, all the Leylines, because it's only a 3-9, a 6-13, and 9-17. It's really, really small. I mean, it's hard to kill, but it doesn't do a lot of damage. But that's free is free. If I'm have the option between a free 6-13 and a 6-13 I'm gonna have to pay for, I'd rather have the one I don't have to pay for. So looks like he's blocking my guys with his resources. So what I can do is replace... I don't really feel like dendrifying any of his creatures, because I believe this trades with it, right? No, this Leyline Sentry would actually die to Fungi. So what's the play here? I can Relic Hunter my Leyline Sentry to make it larger, or to make a big Relic Hunter. It's basically, I'm going to play Ironbeard this turn because I want to rank it up. So the choice is between Relic Hunter and Dendrify. So if I Dendrify this Fungi, my Relic Sentry would live because it would deal 5 damage to it, then 5 damage again, so it'd be at 1 health and 1 armor. But if I play Relic Hunter, I have a level 2 Relic Hunter in my deck, which is not the worst. It's a 8-9, I believe? Yeah. So I think that'll be very useful, considering the number of Leyline Sentries I have in my deck already. So I think I'm going to play my Relic Hunter on top of this thing, and Ironbeard right here. I could play Ironbeard like in front of the Fungi, or replace my creature, but that's not the best, I think. I come really close to killing this Fungi anyway. It'll be at 1 health, 1 armor, which is sufficient to kill it with Nexus Aeronaut and Thundersoar, with the +2 power from the Aeronaut. Really, I need to kill that Spore Lord, but I don't have anything that does that in my hand. Spore Lord's really good. It copies an on-level plant that he controls. Unfortunately, unlike Nuada, it doesn't have Defender, so it can attack. So, I get to play Thundersoar and Aeronaut. I could play the Justicar. Justicar is actually pretty good against his deck. And, in fact, I probably should have done that. Like, play the Justicar in front of the Relic Hunter here, and whenever he plays... Oh, that card's going to be good for him. It's a plant that allows him to banish another plant in his discard pile to make it bigger. Unfortunately, I didn't draw a Leyline Golem. That would have been really good here, because Ironbeard lives and Torgmai... But basically, he gets to copy it with Spore Lord now and remove cards from his deck, so he draws the good cards, and he doesn't draw all the bad ones he has. Forced to play with so many Soulbind cards. It makes his deck a lot more consistent. I don't think it tells me what he banishes. No, it does. He banished his... So one of them banished a Torgmai Guardian level 1, and the other one banished itself. So he's 1 short on a level 2 card. I think I'm going to play Ferocious Roar here, keep my Thundersoar alive. Either that. I can either play that or Dendrify. Actually, Dendrify is probably better. That way I get to make his 11/7 a 1/5 because of the Justicar. I don't kill his Tusken Sporelord, and he can make another Tree Folk if he wants. But I still think it's worth it because if I draw, like, I just drew a Leyline Sentry, and I want him to have a creature in play because I have a bunch of level 2 Leyline Sentries in my deck. And even Leyline Sentry blocks Tree Folk profitably. Aeronaut kills Sporelord next turn. And the Justicar will make his Tree Folk smaller. Or whatever plan he decides to make smaller. Because there's no way he doesn't use Sporelord. Like, it's a free creature. Like, he can't play around me having Leyline Sentry because if he does that, his deck basically just doesn't do anything, right? Because plant decks exist to like proliferate their plants with Nuada and Tusken Sporelord. So if he doesn't do that, like, what is his deck even doing? It's just like a really bad Torgmai Guardian beatdown deck. That's not what he wants to be doing. He can't afford to play Leyline Sentry. It just sucks that I have him, basically. Like, I think his plan is just to hope I get really unlucky and draw the Leyline Sentries either not at all or on the turns he can't make any plans. And this hand's not the worst. I get to rank up 3 cards here, assuming he uses a Sporelord. I get to rank up the Leyline Sentry, the Justicar, and either the Hunter or the Thundersoar. I haven't decided which yet. Probably the Thundersoar. I haven't seen Dendrify yet, but he probably plays it because he's playing Uterra. All Uterra decks play Dendrify, or all Uterra decks should play Dendrify. If they don't, like, I even think some Brood Queen decks skimp on Dendrifys. Some play it, like 3-ofs, no question. Others skimp on it because they need to play Necream spells for Crypt Conjurer or just rely on Brood Queen and stuff like that. But generally, if you're playing Uterra, your decklist should start with some number of Dendrifys. He doesn't get to he gets to control where the Tree Folk goes, right? Yeah. So I don't know why I would put it there because it doesn't even kill Ironbeard. Okay, that kills Ironbeard. And he Legion Sharded his Tusken Sporelord. Okay, so my options here are Orient Justicar blocking the Sporelord for sure. And I could either Ferocious Roar my Leyline Sentry so it lives, which does not seem the best. Or I could just play Thundersoar in front of his Tree Folk. I think that's the play there. Because I want to kill the Sporelord this turn, otherwise I would just block the Thundersoar in front of the Sporelord. My Thundersoar is beginning this slow trek towards having power. Another Leyline Sentry. That doesn't really mean a whole lot since I don't think he has anything to pump this turn, or anything to make this turn. One of the weird things about Scatterspore Eidolon, that card he played on turn 1, it always stays an 8/8. Like, it's an 8/8 at rank 1, it's an 8/8 at rank 2, and it's an 8/8 at rank 3. The only thing that it scales is it makes seedlings, then it makes 3/3 saplings, then it makes 5/5 tree folk. That's the only thing that scales about that card. So it's really, really good at rank 1, and it's especially since itself is a plant. So if you have Tusken Sporelord, you can copy the Scatterspore Eidolon, so you never run out of plants. Like, and 8/8s are a huge beating. But luckily, I dealt with it pretty efficiently with the Thundersoar, and he didn't make any copies with Sporelord, so that's a card I'm going to Dendrify. I'm probably going to Dendrify it and play... I have 2 plays here. The Dendrify is free because it makes this Tree Folk so small. I have 2 real plays here. Or 3, I guess. I don't really want to play Ironbeard because level 2 Ironbeard's only a 7/12, I believe. 7/11 with armor 3, so 7/14, basically. Which is decent. The Shard Play Planet's gigantic. And that's always merit enough for playing a card. Or I could play the Leyline Sentry just to rank it up. I don't think I need to do that because it doesn't get appreciably better at rank 3 because it's only 3 power. So I'd rather play the Behemoth and start attacking him with it. 10 power on the board and that sort of thing. He played an Ancestral Echoes there, which kind of just pumps my Thundersoar. Doesn't really do a whole lot on his side of the board. I can't think of a single plant that makes things the turn it comes into play, other than like Grove Matriarch. That is annoying. So I think my play is. This says 8 power. I'm definitely playing the Aeronaut. The question is whether I'm dendrifying his Scatterspore Eidolon so he doesn't get seedlings, which I don't think that's very relevant. I think it's better probably to play the Aeronaut in the offlane and then play the Ironbeard in the middle. That way Ironbeard does 2 damage and moves his Eidolon, gives me a chance to drop any of the... I don't think I've drawn any golems yet, right? They're still all in my deck. So this gives me a chance to drop golems in for free. And I think it's just better impact than... Like, dendrifying this guy is fine, but I don't really need this to be a level 3. And dendrifying this still leaves me with a 6/6 I have to deal with somehow. So I think it's better just play the Aeronaut here than play the Ironbeard here and move his creature with a block. And I didn't draw a Leyline Golem, but still, the strategy was sound. Like, it was excellent strategy. I can Gauntlets my Aeronaut to deal 5 damage to his Eidolon, which I believe kills it, right? 2 armor, 4 toughness? No, it's 6/6. So he plays another Tusken Warlord, which I'm not too worried about, because that's a really good block for me. I think I actually just kill it now, because my other play is like play a level in Aeronaut or play a level in Thundersoar. With Gauntlets, I can actually deal 5 damage to his Tusken and then deal 7 damage to his Tusken. That leaves him with 0 creatures in play. Well, it leaves him with a Seedling in play, but I'm not too worried about that. And then I can move the Aeronaut here. It has 5 armor or 4 armor still, and it gives my Behemoth an extra 4 attack or an extra 3 attack. This is a sweet looking Thundersoar. Okay, I don't have the alternate art ones, so playing the Phantom Constructed events with when I get to play the alternate art ones, they look so sweet. So my opponent's really, really far behind. He's at 20 life. I'm at 77. And he has no creatures on board to my very difficult to kill Aeronaut. Like, he has to dendrify it pretty much. Oh wow, I actually get a Leyline Sentry off that. A Cultivate makes this creature into a 7/7. Or it makes any plant into a 7/7, 14/14, 21/21, I believe. I think the play is just dendrify his Relic Hunter, trade with a Tree Folk, and then make a Thundersoar to block his Tree Folk. Even though I can't play any Aeronauts in the center lane, I think that's still fine because the Thundersoar is gigantic. Or will be gigantic. Bunch of level 2 creatures. My opponent's level 3 cards are... I think he has a level 3 Dendrify, level 3 Spore Lord, and a level 3... Eidolon? No, he has a level 2 Eidolon. I'm not sure. I'm not actually sure. I haven't been paying too much attention. Yeah, I know he has a Relic 3 Relic Hunter, but that's a 14/15, I believe. Or is this card? It's in my deck, so I can check it. That's a Leyline Sentry. Pretty sure I didn't click on that. Yeah, it's a 14/15. So you could make his Tree Folk a 20, or replace his Tree Folk and make it gigantic, but still can't kill Thundersoar because Thundersoar is incredible. And then Thundersoar would deal a bunch of breakthrough damage with the backswing. So I actually don't know how he gets out of this. Let's see. I think his play is to play Ancestral Echoes and then Ambriel's Edict. That way he gets to play 2 cards and kills all my creatures, except for the Leyline Sentry with trades. But he played a card, so it's not really an option anymore. Yeah, my opponent's looking pretty dead. Leafkin Progenitor, I believe, replaces itself with a level 2 version, which is horrible against the many Leyline Sentries I've already displayed, but this guy has no fear, which I can respect. Don't get me wrong. So I just play my level 2 creatures and attack him for 1 with the Thundersoar. The Thundersoar has 11 power with Breakthrough now, so I'm not actually sure how it deals with that outside of level 2 Digify. I didn't draw any of the aforementioned sentries. I don't think I drew any in turn 1, right? Yeah, I just haven't drawn any yet. I don't remember how big Tusken Sporelord is, but actually it might be enough power. It might be enough toughness to block the Thundersoar multiple turns. If he has a level 3 Sporelord that he can put in front of the Thundersoar. But then he has to deal with the other Thundersoar and the Ironbeard. This is why I like Thundersoar, because it's a really difficult card to deal with, and it has Breakthrough, so you can't just chump block it forever. If you chump block it, it gets bigger, and it starts dealing more damage to you. It's a really efficient card. Let's see. He actually removed 3 cards from his deck with those Legion Shard and the 2 Torquemine Guardians. So he actually has as many cards as I do now. He started with 3 extra cards in his deck, which is like 10% of a normal deck size. The Soulbind cards have a real downside. It makes your deck a little less consistent. Usually it's worth it though, especially in the case of like Relic Hunter and Duskmaw, where the card it gives you is just so good because it gives you free creatures and free stats. The Duskmaw gives you really good non-level gated removal spells. The cards that don't see play as much, like Contagion Lord, those give you really bad Soulbind cards. Like Contagion Lord's Contagion Fiend is a really horrible abomination. The Tusken Sporelord's fine, but Fungi is just not constructed playable, and there aren't enough good plants, really. Like, if there were really good plants in the format, or in Solforge, like, I think the plants would be really strong, because they're actually quite difficult to deal with, because they keep making more plants. And then there's, like, what, Iztek, Con of Aura something or another. It gives you Frost and Flame, which are really good. They're both really good removal spells, especially with Iztek himself. But they... Okay, so he's actually dead here, because I can just replace my Aeronaut with... I guess I can finish my Iztek train of thought. They're really good spells, but it puts 6 cards in your deck, so you just like never draw the card you want to when you want to. I just play the Aeronaut here to pump my Ironbeard so he dies, because he's at 8. And that was round 2, I believe? Yep, sweet. 2-0, that's like significantly better than I did yesterday with the Herald deck. Still need to win one more game, or one more match, I guess, to play another constructed event today. So, wish me luck. Going on to round 3.